when you do have the many children that there are, the idea is to allow them to find each other. It was a vast difference when they were younger. Now, of course, the age gap seems a lot smaller to both all of them. And we had a lot of dinners and didn't push much, allowing them to find their groove with each other.
I'm Rachel Green, divorce mediator and collaborative attorney. Join me as I chat about everything from smoothly navigating your way through divorce to prenups, all the while keeping the kids in mind. Hi, I'm Rachel Green, and welcome to Keep the Kids in Mind. Thanks for joining us. Today, we have a special guest, Jocelyn Greenky Underwood, who's going to share some of her experiences that may be relevant to many of you. So I'm very pleased to welcome Jocelyn. Hi. Thanks for coming on Keep the Kids in Mind. So, Jocelyn, you work as a business and efficiency coach. Is that
Yes.
correct? Yes.
And I primarily work with family-run businesses.
So
And
you're used to family dynamics.
I am.
And I understand that you had some personal experiences that are very relevant to my work as a divorce mediator. And I'm wondering if you'd like to share your history.
Sure. I was married and had 2 children and then got single. I hate using the word divorce. That for me was a big pain point, honestly, because I was shocked that I was actually getting divorced. So the entire process of that, I just said, I'm becoming single.
I love that. That's great. That's
Uh,
what we should all call it now.
yes, because I knew I had to unravel to re-ravel, and I'm remarried and with additional 4 bonus children now. So there's 6 of them and all together, of course. And it's been actually rather smooth. I also ditched the word stepchildren and I ditched the word stepmother and we're bonus. That
Right.
was early on.
I just love that. It's a bonus parent, a bonus sibling.
Right. And that is true. They call them, the kids still refer to each other as step brothers,
Brother or
sisters, whatever
sister,
it is.
yeah.
And I do try to correct or just remind them that it's a bonus situation.
Right.
So
And what's their range of ages now, and what was it when you first
they
separated
were
them?
fairly little. My 2 were 3 and 5 or 4 and 6, and his were 9, 11, 13, like right in the thick of it.
Mm,
And it took time. I did not push. I think when you do have the many children that there are, the idea is to allow them to find each other. It was a vast difference when they were younger. Now, of course, the age gap seems a lot smaller to both all of them. And we had a lot of dinners and didn't push much, allowing them to find their groove with each other. Now, my daughter was super young at the time, and so she gravitated towards my husband's only an older son. So that was lovely to see. But you could see at dinner they were taking their time to try to find each other in commonality. We also were from completely 2 different cultures. So
oh,
how I brought up my children was vastly different how my second husband brought up his
yeah.
children.
Wow, how interesting. So what are the different parenting styles that you each had?
In my world, we ask a lot of questions and we are involved fully in the development of the children. Where did you go after school? Who did you go with? What did you eat? What schools, when is homework due? With Keith's family, questioning was not okay. And in fact, eventually I got I don't know if the word scolding is right, that I asked too many questions. So I had to stop asking his children as many questions as I asked mine. And, his ex-wife was just a different type of mother. No judgment on it, was just a completely
Right,
different type of
right. Different
style.
approach, right. And
So,
there are many different styles of
right.
parenting.
I mean, we're just very involved. I speak to my children all the time, every day. The way that they have parented, they're not talking to their children every day. Of course, that's just a cycle as well, because sometimes you talk to your kids all the time, sometimes you don't, particularly as they get older. Um, so that was a big thing. And I really learned to show up with compliments. I learned to show up with gifts and not provide any advice unless you're asked. And if
Mm.
I'm asked anything of advice, I actually don't use the word I refer to Time Magazine said, or the Wall Street Journal says, or my friend's family did so and so. So I take myself out of it completely.
Interesting. So that it doesn't become like a power struggle between you and your husband.
Or
It's
them.
just
It's really
for
them.
them, right? Hmm.
It's really about them. If we put them, all of those kids, at the top of the ring, of course, we're the old tradition in our culture. The couple goes first at the very top, the health of the couple, then the kids. But we agreed to have the kids at the top. So whatever it would take to make them satisfied with both of us, then that's what we're going to do.
And how have the kids reacted to these different styles going on in their family? Like, did his kids ever, come to you and say, "Oh, I really want to talk to someone about what happened at school today or what happened with this boy?" Or,
Right. I think it's still work in progress. I think the girls have come, his three girls have come to me on various stages of their life with, I believe perhaps they might not want to share with their mother.
mm.
My daughter,
Well, I think that's one of the advantages of a bonus mother, to have like another woman who loves you and is there for you, but it's not your mother. I mean,
correct. I mean,
what
it's
a
a
wonderful
win-win for them.
resource. That's right.
I sincerely and authentically love all the girls. I've watched them, grow and be involved. They have never, ever been rude to me, ever.
Yeah.
I mean, hurt, we all have, but it's never been accusatory or something that has gone down a negative path. The boys are a different story. So I
So you
think,
each have one boy.
yes. And in general, I have found boys to be way harder to bring up than girls.
But does your husband feel that way too? Or
Yes.
is it just you think being a woman? No,
Nope. I think boys just have a
are
whole
hard.
world of conversation in their head and they don't, through society, they're not supposed to explain their feelings. They don't know how to. There's just so, and we're women, girls, our girls were open all the time. They talked all the time. So we knew exactly where they were, good or bad. We knew
Right.
exactly where they were.
Yeah. Yeah. How old are they now? All the children.
I know. 20 to 33.
20 to 33. Oh, so your little ones are grown now.
Now they are, yeah. It's been
Oh,
17
wow.
years. It's
Wow.
insane. I think my daughter has fallen in love. She has her dad and she's very close to her dad, but she really respects my husband, Keith, her bonus dad.
Bonus
It
dad.
took her a very long time to get that comfortable, and we had to have patience. So whoever's listening, you really have to go for the long game on this. And it was after we did go to family therapy to a specific person who's helped us, because there were, of course, challenges naturally with all those teenagers at one time. And what he told us, which was really helpful, is that we are supposed to be, I am the favorite aunt and to act that way. And he was to be an uncle to mine. And once we had that in our head, we approached everything really differently.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Um, People who are not turning single, have parenting conflicts too. I mean, I think all parents have
Yeah.
conflicts about parenting, and it's when you are living in two homes that
Yes.
you start to become more aware of it because you're not discussing and resolving those things. You're doing what doing in your home, and the other parents doing what they do in their home. Um, and then when you add like a third family into the mix, third a bonus parent,
Right.
um, there's just more layers that you have to go through. Um, did you ever have to feel like you had to have meetings with their father and their bonus father?
Oh, good question. I have always two things. I think sometimes, which is natural, that the children felt as if I was a influence on Keith's decisions, and they felt I would, and mine felt Keith was an influence on my decisions on the kids. Now, a million times over, of course I listen to my husband, of course he listens to me. However, I make my own decisions, and that took a very long time for them to accept that it wasn't all that influence. So no, I have never had a magical meeting with his children because they are his children and he needs to have my back, which he has all the way through, and I've had his back all the way through. But he's a sane person who makes rational decisions. So I think that worked out. So there, of course, there's been issues, and I think the biggest issue is them saying, "Oh, you only Keith, their dad, made that decision because Jocelyn told you to do something." Blah, blah. And that is not true. He makes his own decisions. I make my own decisions. We listen to advice, like all of us, and then go down that path.
And and what kind of schedules did you have for all the children?
That's a great question. Keith nested. I had never even heard of that in the beginning when there was a bunch of them still at home and not in college. He went up every other weekend and stayed in their family house. And then now and then they would sleep over, and Keith was living
So
with me. Yep.
so he just went, oh, Keith was living with you and he
Yes.
would just go himself. You didn't also go.
No. Oh my gosh, no, no.
So
Although
he was
we weren't
seeing.
married then either. We were together for 10 years and then got married because he felt, and I agreed, that he should wait for his youngest to get out of high school. I'm not sure if that was right or wrong, but that's what the decision was, and I
It
agree.
sounds like it all worked out, so it must have been right. I
I
mean, every decision has, positives and negatives. So
Yeah, of course.
you make yourself crazy if you keep second guessing yourself about things you can't change,
That
i.e., things in the past.
Rachel, hallelujah. That is a very great lesson and really hard to implement. But yes,
Really hard to implement, but no matter how much therapy you go to, you can't go back in time to the dance recital that your parents didn't go to when you were 6.
right.
It's going to be part of your history, and there's nothing you can do except accept it
And forgive. I mean,
and
we all
forgive.
do the best we can do as
Yes, you
parents.
do. Yep,
Absolutely. There's fault everywhere and
fault everywhere.
fault everywhere, and you can really only do the best you can do. That's right.
That's right. So, um, but and how did did you have issues with your ex about Keith being their bonus father?
Not really. I mean, I had issues with my ex, how he parented.
Mm.
And we parent totally different. I mean, thank God we did split up and he got single and I got single because we absolutely parent completely different. It's funny because my daughter calls her original father her mother. Keith is her father and I'm her manager. Okay, so and she really believes that. So her father is way more into helicopter parenting. That is just not my style. Um, we kids are got to figure out your own deadlines. I'll gladly help you, but I was working full time, like most people. I mean, a lot of people work full time, both parents, which we were. Um, and I figured if they're going to eat Doritos for 4 days in a row, go ahead, because you will eventually want to eat real food.
Yeah, you'll eventually feel sick enough.
You'll feel sick enough to understand. So I definitely, again, much more of a, you've got to make the mistake or make your own decisions, but I'm here for you after you've got to come and figure out why, who, where, when for the mistake.
And what kind of schedule did you have with their father for them?
Like all agreements, we had 50-50 custody, and I was happy to have the children go there. I mean, that's sort of the secret of divorce is you get free time.
Time without your kids.
There's
Yeah, I
time
know.
without the kids, no offense.
Right.
But there's time without them with somebody that you trust,
Right.
assuming you trust, and I do trust Eric, that who's going to take care of the children, of course. And then you have time alone. And then it got to a point where they were making their own decisions. So we didn't stick to the agreement. If they want to be with us, or at that home, that's great. And if they wanted to spend more time there. So if I had pushed harder and started making more demands or difficulty for the children, I did not think that that was healthy. So I allowed them to make those easy back and forth decisions.
At what age did you segue into letting them make their own decisions? Because that comes up for me a lot with people,
Uh,
with families I'm working with, where they say, "Oh, well, our kid is 12 and already has an opinion about where he goes. So I just want to let him decide." And then the experts that I've encountered over the years through classes and everything it seems like the consensus in the therapeutic world is that you don't want to have the child decide, because whatever he or she or they pick, they'll feel guilty toward the other parent. So you don't
that's
want,
probably true.
so you
By
don't
the
want
way,
not when they're so young,
not when they're so
12.
young, there was a schedule, but
Right.
we agreed, Eric and I agreed that you have to be home on Sunday. I'm the one who lived in the school district that they went to. So that was like, oh, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, go ahead, or Wednesday night. I think it was like a Wednesday in the weekend, or we changed it to Thursday and the weekend because it was very disruptive going back and forth. So we did Thursday through Sunday.
So every other weekend they were Thursday through
Through
Sunday with
Sunday,
dad, and then Sunday night
come home.
through did you have then the next weekend they stayed with you?
Yes.
And then so every other weekend it was Thursday through Sunday.
Right. And I think that, even my ex-husband really wanted the free time too.
Mhm.
Everybody wanted so I think there was definitely trouble in the teenage years, you never really, those are not easy. I mean,
No, they're not easy.
they're
Kids
not
are
easy.
it's their job to irritate us, and they do it well.
They do it so well. Um, and that is the therapist said, stop eliminating the emotional response for them pushing your buttons is the answer if you can do it.
Yeah.
And it's really being mindful all the time. So yeah, we did allow that, and but I don't think they took advantage of it, and I think they really wanted to be in their home bed in our house more, up until, it got to be 14, 15, 16, and then the troubles started.
So is that around when you started to let them have more control over their schedules? If
A
one of them
little
had,
bit. I mean, it was the talk back. You can't tell me what to do. I want to be with my father.
or I want to be with my friends who are going to a movie tomorrow, and you live closer to them, and
Exactly. Um, One thing my mother did, I don't even know if it was great, but back in the day, she did drive me and my siblings around to the absolute worst part of town and said, if you don't go to school and if you don't pay attention and if you don't listen to me, you may end up here.
wow.
And that to this day, I remember being in the car and thinking, I better pay attention because that is somebody who's taking care of me and showing me the other side of the tracks. And I kept me on the straight and narrow mostly. I was a teenager too. And I have done the same with mine, and I have not felt that they went off the tracks because they needed to appreciate and respect the work that all of us, the three of us, myself, Keith, and their father, that we put into making sure that they're safe, healthy, and getting a decent education.
Yeah, that's a great story because I mean, one of the things I found challenging as a parent is how to have your kids, take responsibility for their own successes and failures and be motivated for themselves, for their own lives to want to succeed. And they're not, have them not just doing it for you. I remember I went to a parents' meeting at my daughter's high school, and we were talking about motivating the children to do their work. And one of the mothers said, I have her come home every day and she writes out a list of all the homework she has to do. And then she goes off to do her homework. And every time she finishes something, she comes back and she puts a check mark next to the thing so that I know that she's done it. And I thought, you're going to do that when she's in college? Like,
Right.
is she gonna, email you a list of all her assignments? And like, it's not your homework, it's her homework.
Yeah,
And let her go to school and face the consequences if she doesn't do her
I
homework.
agree with you 100%. And
But it's hard sometimes for parents to let go.
it's very hard. So my son, I don't know, maybe he graduated the second or the third from the bottom from high school, something like that. And we allowed that to happen because it was his failure. So if he wanted to be at that level and that's what he wanted to be proud of or claim to fame or whatever it was, um, he needed to get to that place. And so now we have helped him in a way, but he's been working. He didn't want to go to college out of all the kids, did not want to go, was not ready. He told us it would be a waste of our money. So we agreed. That's fine. After I
Yeah. I
begged him,
think if the child tells you it's going to be a waste of your money, you got to listen to him.
you got to listen to the kid. That's
Yeah.
very important, is to listen to the kid. And trying to beg, plead, and the guilt, which I did do, it's just a waste of time. So now he's been working for 4 years and now he's going back to school on his own. He is making this happen. And the having the faith in yourself and your child to know it's a long game and they'll do it and you just have to cheer them on.
Wow, that's a great story. And what has he been doing for work, and what does he want to study in college, or
He
just now?
had an obsession with cars, and he in high school he was worked as, first the gas guy, then in the garage, and he is a high-end mechanic for race cars and uh, you know, luxury cars. So
Wow,
he is going to school for mechanical engineering.
that's very cool. I'm sure a lot of people would be envious of those
Yeah,
experiences and working on high-end cars and race cars. So many people love cars in our culture.
it's absolutely true. And watch him be the successful one. Whatever it is, I'm cheering him on, but he has to do it. I
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my two kids are in their 20s,
oh,
and um I mean, one of them just got a job after she's been, underemployed for years,
oh,
and the other one's been working as a barista. So
oh,
I am working myself to find the courage and patience to let them figure it out themselves, because I mean, when I think back on my career, it didn't go in a straight line. It was like
yeah.
and I mean, I bounced from job to job until I found mediation, which I then felt was like my calling. But I was in my mid 30s when I started mediating. So
It's such a great, yeah, it's such a great thing that you do. Yeah, I really do. I really believe that. But do you financially support them?
no, I,
Yeah,
I
we
don't.
didn't either.
Right.
And that was like, look, if you don't go to college, you're on your own. And that's what we told them.
Yeah. I mean, right. I mean, my kids did go to college, but the college degree didn't lead to the job the way that we thought it would or the way it used to.
It's true. You got to get the practical
Yeah.
experience.
What are the things that you would tell on other parents who are looking at the blended bonus family?
Don't give advice to the children, so they see you as an independent person. They have, that's my experience, seeing they have to see me as a truly an independent person. And even if they do ask you for advice, again, just, well, according to my friends, according to what I just read that's what happens.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
So it helps them to say, oh, this isn't her cramming information down my throat. It's something that was in the New York Times or
correct.
something.
And
Yeah,
then using the questions, how, who, um, mostly how will you get to that goal? How, new grandson, we have a new grandson. Um, how do change the baby? How it's asking them. So it's an open-ended question that they're telling you. And
I see. And then you're then expressing interest in their lives, but you're
correct,
not telling them what to do.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. My daughter at one point, um, and this really took me back. She said, Mom, when you jump in to help me do something, the message I'm getting is that you don't think I can do it.
Oh,
And I was so startled because, of course, you want to help them. You love them. You want them to thrive. You want them to have it, have a smooth path. But if you don't let them figure it out themselves, they don't learn from it.
yeah. I
At
mean,
one point, we fostered a bunch of 9-day-old puppies
oh,
during the pandemic, and I watched them, the little puppies, like climbing over each other to try to drink from their mother's milk, and the bigger ones would, just elbow the little ones out of the way, and I had the impulse to take say, "Oh, you big bully, what are you doing? Let your siblings have milk too." And then I started, watching them as they began to figure out how to stand and walk. And the whole process of them climbing over each other and shoving the other ones out of the way was helping them use their muscles and get stronger.
oh,
And it was a necessary, it looked difficult. It looked like the big ones were bullies, but the little ones were getting much stronger for fighting with their siblings, and me picking them up and putting them in another crate
I see.
to be with their mother was not actually helping them get stronger, because I'm not going to be following them their whole lives
Right.
and helping them. They have to learn that themselves. And it was such a concrete picture of that principle. It was
That's
a
a
good
great
lesson.
story.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Honestly, that's a great story.
Well, Jocelyn, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I appreciate you sharing your experiences. And I guess you were just starting to tell me some of the takeaways that you would tell people.
Oh,
Ask questions, don't give advice.
show up with gifts and compliments. Show up with gifts and compliments. No advice. And even if they upset you, which they will, including your own, the idea is to take a step back, because in their heads, time, they may forget, but if you're always welcoming, even though it's really hard, if something has happened, to take a step back, the hug makes a big deal. How are you?
Yeah.
And just try, eventually they'll come to you and talk to you about
Right.
something happened or not, or
Right.
who, or what, the drama. But if you can remain as independent and non-biased as possible, is the way to go.
Yeah. And I also love that you said you had the courage to say that one of the benefits of becoming single is that you get to have time without your children.
It is
And
true.
people sometimes are, so panicked about not being with their kids every day, and
Yeah,
and and
Never in a good way.
fighting with their ex over the time,
Oh, right.
that it becomes hard for them to admit that they can also really enjoy, sleeping late on a Saturday morning without somebody bounding into your room and jumping on you at 7:30.
But it also helps you get prepared for other things because they do leave. I mean, they are
That's
going
right.
to leave, and you really will. I mean, most of us, I do need to work. I want to work. I need to
Yes.
work both.
Yes. Me too. Same.
And um, with that said, doing things like meeting other people, bringing up some sort of hobby is going to keep you balanced. In addition, interesting. So
Right.
you'll have something to talk to with your children about what you're up to, and then that interest they might want to, be a part of as well.
Right.
So it's going down a rabbit hole, having a fight, and that stress fighting people, it's just release it. It doesn't help your um, body chemistry at all. Stress is a nasty, nasty thing to have inside.
Right. Well, words of wisdom.
Uh,
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
oh my gosh, Rachel, you're the best. Thank you so much. Everyone should hire Rachel. Truly, everyone should hire Rachel. Okay, so thank you so much. Would love to see you again, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Take care.